How is everybody doing? It's your boy Shaban here, back with another War Within video. Today I thought I will do a little Arcane Mage Mythic Plus guide video, especially for the hero talent Spellslinger. I recently looked up into the YouTube search and I did not find an updated guide from any of the bigger names, so I decided to cover the most important stuff for you guys. In this video, I will talk briefly about stat priority, gear, talents, and also, of course, there will be a showcase of the single target rotation and also of the AOE rotation. So let's jump right away into the gearing. Our main priority stat is intellect, so we want to stack that as much as possible. Our main secondary priority stat is haste, so in general we want to stack as much haste as possible, but due to the effect of the 10% dismiss, we were just fine. We are going to about 30 or 40% in total. Just be in mind, the more haste you stack, the more diminishing return you will get on that. So of course, if you have, I think, more than 43%, then you will lose 20% overall. And I think if you're at haste cap, which is around 30%, it's worth to go for our secondary best stat, which is versatility. So versatility gives you more damage overall, and also you take less damage overall. And it makes a significant difference if you have 0% versatility or if you have 15% versatility, which means you do around 15% damage more, and you take also about, I think it's half the measures, you take about 7% less or something like that. So just pick the ones obviously first with the most amount of main stat, and then look out for haste versatility values. For trinkets, there are a few considerable options you can play here. I did not get lucky with the main disc trinkets from the raid right now, but other Mythic Plus options are fine. You can use any unused trinket, for example, like the one from Prowler of Second Flame, which you get more haste procs, for example, or you can, I think it's an unused trinket for more haste. You can, of course, also use the House of Cards. I personally run this Brutalizer, which is really good because our Arcane Orbs and our Arcane Barrages are triggering it, and I have one passive trinket because I have it on Mythic track, and yeah, it's really working out for me. So just go to Wowhead or Icy Veins and look out for any Abyss trinket or do your Sims. I did not personally do the Sims for Arcane here. I know for Fire, for example, you run House of Cards and the Maxi's jar thing from the one of the last bosses in the raid, but you're completely fine here. So if you're interested in it, go to raid sim bots and just sim your character with the trinkets you have in your pocket. We are playing Spellslinger for Arcane. I really don't know if Sunfury is better at the moment. We would have to sim that, but I'm fine with Spellslinger at the moment. So what our hero tree does in general, basically every time we consume another precision stack, so basically this is a stack which we generate when we consume clear casting, we generate we conjure 2 arcane splinters. So basically this is a damage over time effect to our targets, and this ultimately results in a splinter storm. So basically when this stack gets up to 8, you automatically cast a Splinter Storm at your target, which deals massive passive damage overall. And our main goal as Spellslinger Arcane Mage is you want to consume as much nether precision stacks as possible to generate the most amount of arcane splinters as you can. So this is one of the #1 mistakes I see a lot of Arcane Mages doing, not consuming their nether precision stacks correctly. We have a few basic talents here right away, like our main abilities, Arcane Missiles, and Arcane Search, and Touch of the Magi, which is pretty basic stuff above here. To mention, we have an Intuition talent, so basically casting a damaging spell has a 5% chance to make the next Arcane Barrage deal 50% increased damage and generate 4 Arcane charges. Okay, so whenever we have an intuition proc, which I will show you in the priority video or the rotation video, we press it. Worth to mention is resonance here. Arcane Barrage deals 15% increased damage per target hits beyond the first. So basically, this is a really good AOE talent. So the more targets, the more damage your barrage is doing. Those four haven't changed since season 1, I guess. We play Orb Barrage, so basically every time we press Barrage, it has a 10% chance to launch Arcane Orb with more damage. Our main source of damage here is Mage Spark, so basically when we use our cooldowns in our Touch of the Magi window, we want to use all 3 of our available main spells, which is Arcane Blast, Arcane Missiles, and Arcane Barrage. And if you do that, the Touch of the Magi, so the Magi Spark, will explode and deal damage to all targets around. We also have Arcane Harmony, which, so each time Arcane Missiles hits an enemy, the damage of your next Arcane Barrage is increased by 5% and this stacks up to 80 times. So basically, you will nearly never get to that situation in Mythic Plus, but this is basically a buff that stacks up your barrage damage. You will press it most of the time anyway, but there are some certain conditions where you have max out stacks where you would even press your barrage with 0 stacks because you wouldn't waste any stacks of that. We also play High Voltage, which is a bit of a gamble. So the gamble side of this hero talent build, basically every time you do Arcane Missiles, you have a 10% chance to grant you 1 Arcane charge back, and this chance is significantly increased if you miss 1 refund charge. So this is basically our main talent tree. For the left side, you can play whatever you want. I recommend playing Ice Cold from Mythic Plus because you can move in between, not like Ice Block. Time Anomaly is a must-have. So basically you have at any moment you have a chance to proc Bloodlust, which is really good if you're in your cooldown windows. If you're really lucky and you're lusting a pull and you have a time and enemy block, your damage will just explode. Pretty much standard for every is Mass Barrier, which is a major cooldown, especially for higher keys. You can swap out these 2 talents for Remove Curse and Spell Steal, since you have to look up in each dungeon if you're needing the talent. So I think there is not a single dungeon where you need a curse. I'm not sure. I haven't played that much Mythic Plus this season yet, but I'm going to. I know there are a few dungeons with Spell Steal, for example. Yeah, but yeah, you have to consider changing your talent for each run, especially with higher keys. If you're just running 10s or 11s, it's fine, but as soon as you get into, this 13, 14, 15 mark with your primary group, you have to carefully select the talent points because you do not want to waste any point of there. For example, if you have Remove Curse, you couldn't. So if you pick this, you would miss out. For example, 1 point in diverted energy. For example, here your barrier heals you for 20% of the damage absorbed, which is huge. Alright guys, let's jump into the opener for Arcane Mage. This is pretty much the same as for Sun Fury, also for Spellslinger, and basically also it is the same opener for the AOE Rotation. So in general, your opener never changes. It is always the same. So in the pre-pull, you want to place down your mirror images if possible, but keep in mind in higher keys, mirror images is considered more like defensive cooldown than instead of an offensive cooldown, because it doesn't really do much to your damage, but it gives you 20% less damage taken. And you see a lot of high key mages placing down the mirror images in really critical phases, like in really intense boss fights, for example. So that doesn't really have an impact on your damage overall. You can use it, of course, in the opener, in the first pull, but I would suggest that you keep mirror images in really critical phases when your team is about to get a lot of damage. Anyways, we want to start with Evocation, which gives us a clear casting proc, which we also consume at the pre-pull. And there is a notification in there. So if we play High Voltage, which is this icon, we can also use an Arcane Orb to guarantee 4 charges when we use then Arcane Surge. I will show that later on in the rotation video, but for now on, all you need to know, you press Evocate, you press Missiles, you can cast an Orb if you want, it's not necessary. Before you cast Arcane Surge, you want to use all your cooldowns. You see, this is from Season 1, like Sparring Masters, but you can use your Signet, and you want to use your Pot here, and of course, Bloodlust if available, or if your team wants to use Bloodlust on this pull. And after that, you cast Arcane Surge into Touch of the Magi. Because we generated already 2 Nether Precision stacks from the clear casting before we cast the Arcane Surge, we already consume 1 Nether Precision stack with Arcane Surge, which is in general why you want to do this, because we already generate Arcane Splinters when we press our Arcane Surge. When we press Touch of the Magi, we are granted instantly with clear casting proc, but you will mention, I will show this in the video, when you're at this point here, you're already, you have 1 Nether Precision stack left. And what I do, so what I personally like, because we want to use all our different spells in this window, I always do 1 Arcane Blast after Touch of the Magi to get this off my priority list, because you cast Arcane Blast a little bit more in single target than in AOE. So in AOE it's really 90% you cast Arcane Barrage, but if you follow this pattern, you're generally not wrong. So what you will do here, I personally would not cast another Arcane Blast here, simply because I don't have another precision stack. But this is a little bit an outdated joke, guys. But to be honest with you guys, I was too lazy to recreate this for my own for new. But this is just enough. Your damage won't fall if you do another Arcane Blast after that. Okay, so this is for the general opener. Alright, so let's jump into the single target priority showcase for Spellslinger Arcane Mage. I will try my best to explain everything I do. In this rotation, you will also see the GCD history right over here. You can always pause the video. I will pause the video myself to just give you guys a better understanding what I'm doing. Oh yeah, of course, I can recommend you guys collecting VCAR for yourself so that you see a recent buff all over here, but it is main priority user interface settings, which is up to you basically. Yeah. So as I said in the opener, we place down our mirror images and we start to cast Evocate. We can also do that while casting, and what Evocate does, it will give us a proc of clear casting, so we can use Arcane Missiles after that. So here you can see I'm casting Arcane Missiles, and this is the important stuff here where Arcane Mage starts. These are our Nether Precision stacks. So each time we consume a clear casting with Arcane Missiles, we have 2 stacks of Nether Precision. And if we consume that, we will get Arcane Splinters on our target and do more damage and more damage and more damage and more damage and more damage. Okay? So here is what I showed you also in the section before. We use our pot, we use Bloodlust and Available. I did not use it in this video because I had it recorded a few times to make it seeable for you guys basically. So here we are going into our main cooldown window with Arcane Surge. After Arcane Surge, we can spell queue a Barrage into Touch of the Magi. And you will notice as soon as we cast Arcane Surge, we will consume 1 Nether Precision stack. Yeah, let's see it here. So basically, we used Arcane Search. We can spell queue with an Arcane Barrage, and then we start our touch of the Mage window. So what I personally like, I always cast one Arcane Blast at first, because this is my main priority list to get rid of, because most of the time you will end up with intuition procs to cast your Arcane Barrages. In general, if you have 4 Arcane Charges or intuition proc, or you have clear casting available or orb, you will use an Arcane Orb, which basically does more damage. It is not that important in single target, of course. If you want to maximize your damage out, you have to sim your character what is best in best situation, yeah. But I will show you a priority list on spell when to cast Barrage later on. Okay, so what I end up doing here, I will use one Arcane Blast, and since I'm running out of Nether Precision stacks, I will immediately follow with consuming another clear casting to produce another 2 Nether Precision stacks. So since I have now removed the Arcane Blast from my priority list, and I have 4 Arcane Charges, and I have orbs available and something else, I think I'm gonna cast Barrages here. Yeah? So now you see I just consumed my 2 Nether Precision stacks with 2 Arcane Barrages, and as soon as I run out with Nether Precision stacks, I will go for a clear casting again to produce another Nether Precision stacks. This goes on and on. Probably should have go for Barrages here, but blasts are totally fine. Yeah, if you have intuition procs, or basically if you have really a lot of Arcane Hammer stacks, you can go for Barrage. But it's in single target, you're fine with also blasts. Yeah. So basically, as you can see in this video here, we got a time and enemy proc as well. It is not that important. Yeah, I mean, you can maximize the damage with Barrage. If you're not sure, you can press Arcane Blast. In general, if you have orbs available or intuition procs or something else, you always press Barrage. Yeah? Just make sure to really, in your Touch of the Magi window, you really do all 3 of your main spells to really get that Magi Spark Explosion. Here's an intuition proc, which is from the basic UI. If you have an intuition proc, you basically want to press Arcane Barrage every time. Just make sure that you have 1 Nether Precision stack. So even if an intuition proc, don't press it immediately. Check if you have a stack, do a clear casting first, then go for a Barrage. And as you can see, we just, without Bloodlust, we have over 3 million single target burst. I think Arcane Mage has one of the best single targets now in the game. And immediately after our cooldown, we go into shifting power. This is basically, by the way, one mistake I see a lot of other mages are doing as well, is not using shifting power immediately, because if you wait 10 or 20 seconds with shifting power, because you forget, it ramps up your cooldown time, and you basically end up casting only 12 times major cooldowns, for example, instead of 50 times in a run, which can really lower your overall damage. Yeah? So this is basically the main rotation. We do our filler here by just using clear casting, consuming our clear casting procs with barrages, blasts, and missiles, of course. And as soon as Touch of the Magic comes back up, we enter our small cooldown window, which is basically the same as the big window, just in the small amount. Alright guys, let's jump into the AOE rotation, which is basically the same as single target. We just want to barrage whenever we can, because we have the multiplier talents going. So the more targets we have, the more damage does our barrage. And basically, as I said, we have the same opener. We put down a mirror images if we can. We go evocate into clear casting, search into Touch of the Magi. It is worth to mention, because I showed you it in the previous section. If you don't have 4 charges, before you press Arcane Search, you can also orb to guarantee you enter Arcane Search with 4 charges. Okay. So we can search spell queue, Touch of the Magi. As I said, in the single target section, we want to use all our major abilities in our Touch of the Magi window. So I try to always, as soon as I press Touch of the Magi, I will always use one Arcane Blast first, because 90% or 99% of the remaining cooldown window you will consume your nether precision stacks with Arcane Barrage. Yeah? So basically, I get it out of the way. I'm really lucky with an intuition proc. You just set it there, which really boosts the damage of my Arcane Barrage. And then basically what I'm doing here, I'm doing clear casting, I'm generating 2 nether precision stacks, and I'm consuming this in the AOE with Arcane Barrage. And I'm really lucky to have time anomaly proc here as well. And this, as you can see, even without Bloodlust on a 5 target pull, my damage is here crazy with 13 or 14 million DPS. And yeah, basically another rule here, you can see the intuition proc. If you have an intuition proc nether precision stack, you press it immediately. You want to barrage as much as possible. If you have 0 Arcane charges, you always want to use an orb and then barrage again, an orb, barrage again. If you are confident with your rotation, I personally don't do this a lot, but I can recommend it. You can also use Arcane Explosion to generate your arcane charges back if you don't have any left. Okay, so, and this is basically the rotation, and we do it in the same for single target. We use our shifting power here. We wait for our Touch of the Magi to come up, and in the meantime we try to barrage as many as possible with 4 arcane stacks. Here, for example, is a good example. I could use Arcane Explosion to generate my arcane charges back to get faster at 4, but this is completely fine. We are now entering our next small window again, and this is basically the gameplay of Arcane Mage. Alright guys, I've also provided you the barrage conditions which I just found on Wowhead. So basically the main question is when you want to barrage. In single target situations, basically you want to barrage if you have intuition. This is your main priority. If your movement speed buff is about to expire, if Touch of the Magi is off cooldown and you have 4 arcane charges, or if you have high voltage, clear casting, 4 stacks and 1 nether precision, or as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you're really stacking up this Arcane Harmony buffs, you want to press barrage anyway. If you don't have an orb available, so it's off cooldown and you have 1 nether precision stack and no clear casting available, you also want to barrage. So basically, you always end up where barrage is better than using an arcane blast if you have the arcane charges. Okay. For funneling as well, basically you want to barrage as much as possible. If you're lucky, you get 4 charges back. Okay, and yeah, basically in AOE situations, you want to press barrage all the time if you have 4 charges. That's it for my updated Arcane Mage guide, guys. I hope I could help you a little bit. If you like my content, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you have any critics or anything else to say, or if you want to know anything about the gameplay, user interface or something else, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments. I love you all and I wish you a very happy Easter and cheers.